In the impact statement tonight, stay with me on this one. It's an important story that you haven't heard before. As we reported last night, it looks like Congress will now investigate the far-left group Acorn. Sworn testimony says that community-based organization is committing voter fraud, intimidating people with whom it disagrees, and generally corrupting the political process all across the country. Democratic Congressman John Conyers, a liberal, is calling for a full investigation. Now, last fall, before Election Day, the New York Times was investigating Acorn's ties to the Obama campaign. The Times reporter on the story, Stephanie Strom, called one of her sources and said this.
Hi, Anita. It's Stephanie. I have just been asked by my bosses to stand down. They want me to hold off on coming to Washington. Sorry, I take my orders from higher up. Sometimes. Anyway, I'm sorry about this, and we'll still be in touch. Take care, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Now, if the Times killed that investigation, it's a violation of every journalistic ethic and may have even influenced the election. To be fair, the Times did run a story before the election about Acorn's partisan approach, but stopped there. Now, we called the New York Times today. Paper would not make Ms. Strom available, but did issue this statement. Every day we make news judgments about which stories to publish and which ones not to pursue. Political considerations played no role in our decision about whether to cover this story, unquote. Let's not analyze this and President Obama's trip. The purveyor of DickMorris.com, Mr. Morris. Disturbing. Very. Okay, now, that phone call was made by the New York Times reporter to a whistleblower. That's Anita, okay? And the whistleblower testified under oath before Conyers' committee in Washington that the New York Times killed the story. Right. That they were very close to linking Acorn to the Obama campaign in a bunch of voting shenanigans. What were those shenanigans?
Well, some of them related to fundraising. The Obama campaign apparently made available to Acorn its full list of campaign contributors. Now, some of those are publicly filed, but it made it available before they were publicly filed of their maxed out donors. It might be. It might be a technical violation for coordination, but wait a minute. More importantly, they made available all donors under $100, which they were refusing to release to the public. Now, that is illegal. They're allowed to file it publicly like McCain did. McCain chose to file all of his donors, even those under 100. Obama did not. And if he made a list available to Acorn, which is an independent expenditure, it becomes, in effect, an arm of the Obama campaign, and that is a violation.
So let me try to understand this, because it's a little complicated, and that's why people have to really be careful on this story. The Obama campaign says the whistleblower who testified under oath before Congress, and if she lies a crime, she go to jail. Okay. The Obama campaign
unless she's president of the United States, in which case she gets away with it.
The Obama campaign's working with Acorn, giving them donor lists for reason of raising money. I guess Acorn could ask them for money, right?
Exactly.
And registering them.
No,
vote?
Mainly to raise money.
Okay, to get money for Acorn to do what Acorn does.
That's right.
Okay.
And that's coordination between an independent expenditure and the campaign.
And that's illegal?
Illegal. They've got to be completely separate, because otherwise the independent expenditure becomes, in effect, a branch of the campaign.
Do you believe that happened?
Subject to those limits. Oh, yes, I do.
So you believe that actually happened, that there was an illegal campaign violation before the vote took place?
I do. The larger question is to what extent Acorn's voter fraud tactics were sanctioned by the Obama campaign, or the Obama campaign knew about them. And that's getting into even more dangerous turf. And I suspect, you know, the FEC thing, that's going to be a fine. They'll have to pay $100,000 to the FEC at worst.
Federal Election Commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they just give you slaps on the wrist, a financial fine. But it really would have been a big deal. Remember that back then, all of these stories were percolating.
Oh, if it broke then, it would have been huge.
And all of that.
It would have been huge then.
And I think that the New York Times was cutting it off so it didn't metastasize into a story that Obama was involved in the voter fraud stuff.
Now, if that's true, if your speculation, and it is speculation,
that is speculation.
If it's true, okay, then the New York Times basically is out of the news business, correct? out of the news business.
Well, I have a predisposition against the Times because of my own experience with them.
Right.
When I worked for Bill Clinton, they wanted an interview with him as the election approached. And the managing editor of the New York Times came to see me in my hotel room.
His name?
Lilienthal. And he said, you know, we don't want to cover any of the stuff that happened in Arkansas years ago. We don't think our readers are interested in that. Yeah. And then he said, and we'd like an interview with the president.
So the quid pro quo was, we'll leave Whitewater alone if you produce Bill Clinton.
And the New York Times was the author, the exposer of the Whitewater scandal. And
so they'd shut it down if you pony them up. Did you pony them up?
We sure did. And not only that, but then the reporter who conducted the interview gave me the questions in advance.
Whoa!
And asked me, would I give him any suggested other questions?
Did you write that in any of your books?
Yep.
Which book?
I forget which. Off with Their Heads, I think. And then I actually polled on what questions we wanted Clinton to ask. And then I gave him the list of questions, and he read down the thing.
You know, I have been reporting on press corruption here for what, last 5 years?
Right.
This is why we're doing it. I got to get real fast to Obama in London. Do you think the president is going to come away with anything that's going to help the United States from all of this dog and pony stuff?
No, but I do think he's going to come away with stuff that's going to hurt the United States. All of the crazies that have always worried about global governance and the UN taking over,
One world,
you know,
George
the guys in
Soros.
Montana who are all worried about that, have